Yes. You did it. You're on.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday Apocryphal Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything Friday Apocryphal and podcast, and boy, do we have a show for you today. Today we are covering 2nd Enoch chapters 38 through 68. And then next time we'll be finishing 2nd Enoch.
Yeah, we will be.
Actually, no, there's only 68 chapters. So
in that version.
In this version.
No, there's more in here.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I guess we'll be kind of almost finishing 2nd Enoch. What is this?
Yep. So these are, of course, the big differences between the short and long recensions. That is a pretty big one. I guess the next episode, when we do technically finish it, is going to be about Melchizedek.
Oh, yeah. There's some papers out there about that.
Yeah, I know.
I thought we would be running into that today.
No.
But no, we're just finishing the short recension.
Yes, we're finishing that one, which also happens to be part of this. So we have everything.
This is a very strange translation because it uses some stuff from the long recension, but then it cuts off when the short recension cuts off, I guess.
Yeah. So there's quite a lot of differences. They're pretty significant, actually.
So for all of you out there following along, I would recommend getting the Old Testament pseudepigrapha over the Books of Enoch Complete Edition, because the Old Testament pseudepigrapha has more.
It does. It has a lot more.
And it has commentary.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, enough commentary to make it more commentary than anything else that's on the market for 2nd Enoch.
Yeah, that is true.
It's strictly like fire red and leaf green.
No, it's like red to yellow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Crystal to gold and silver?
Yeah.
Okay.
Platinum to diamond and pearl.
All right. We never got anything else after that.
No, we didn't really. I mean, there was black 2 and white 2.
Yeah, but
I didn't even play black and white.
Me neither.
You should. It's probably the best told story in the Pokemon game.
As I've heard.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the world design is good, too. It makes a lot more sense than some of them.
Yeah, I played before I picked up Sun and Moon, I played Diamond and Pearl. Yeah. That was the last gen I played before that.
That was my last gen as well.
So yeah, I was pretty disappointed by Diamond and Pearl.
I also was rather disappointed with Diamond.
Yeah, they weren't that great.
Yeah. But you know what? I was also disappointed by Sun and Moon.
I thought Sun and Moon were okay.
And by Sword and Shield. That was pretty disappointing.
I liked Ultra Sun and Moon. I'm kind of glad I missed everything until then, and it was like the improved version.
Yeah, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were pretty good.
Why are we talking about Pokemon?
Well, additions, guys. We always deal with so many additions to things.
Yeah, so therefore...
This is our official canon, and we have our own Apocrypha, and we haven't started yet.
Yeah, therefore, we need to talk about Pokemon.
Well,
See,
I think we finished.
Okay. Now when people are doing their degrees of separation games, they have a link between Pokemon and 2nd Enoch.
Yeah, there it is.
It's through Milwaukee Atheists.
There it is.
Yep. So we already said what books we have, really.
Yeah, we do.
But
an Old Testament pseudepigrapha from James H. Charlesworth. Pretty good.
The Books of Enoch Complete Edition by Paul C. Schneiders, translated by R.H. Charles.
Yeah, so those are the only things we have here on that. Aside from that, I did read a few papers, and we will be getting into more of that when we get to the Melchizedek stuff.
Yes, but in chapter 38 and onward, we're seeing Enoch return with this wild story.
Yeah.
So let's hop into it then. Chapter 38. And the Lord said to those men who first led me up, let Enoch go down to onto earth with you, and await him till the determined day. and they placed me by night on my bed. And Methuselah, when it says Methuselah and then has Methuselah in the parentheses, I'm just going to say Methuselah. Okay. Or, I'll just say Methuselah because we all know who Methuselah is.
Yeah.
Expecting my coming, keeping watch by day and by night at my bed, was filled with awe when he heard my coming, and I told him, let all my household come together, that I tell them everything. You know what this sounds to me? Sounds like to me? It sounds like he was like in a coma or something, and Methuselah's like amazed that he wakes up, right? Because he's returned to his bed at night.
Yeah. Or maybe not even. I mean, because the whole point is like you weren't there before, you're here now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I wouldn't say it's quite like a coma.
Right. Like those near-death experiences.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the notes here on this chapter, there is no reason why this chapter, which is quite lucid and in the correct place, should not be accepted as authentic. Without such a chapter, short manuscripts have no explanation of how Enoch returned to Earth.
Now, it leaves open some questions, though, like those books that he wrote.
Yeah.
Did he bring those with him?
I guess we'll see.
Let's
hope.
Chapter 39. O my children, my beloved ones, hear the admonition of your father, as much as is according to the Lord's will. I have been let come to you today and announce to you, not from my lips, but from the Lord's lips, all that is and was, and all that is now, and all that will be till judgment day. For the Lord has let me come to you. You hear, therefore, the words of my lips, of a man made big for you. But I am one who has seen the Lord's face, like iron made to glow from fire. It sends forth sparks and burns. You look now upon my eyes, the eyes of a man with meaning for you. But I have seen the Lord's eyes, shining like the sun's rays and filling the eyes of man with awe. You see,
this translation is quite a bit different. So, but I am one who has seen the face of the Lord, like iron made burning hot by fire.
That sounds like what was in the previous verse. I am one who has seen the Lord's face, like iron made to glow from fire. It sends forth sparks and burns.
It's a very similar verse, actually.
Yeah. You see now, my children, the right hand of a man that helps you. But I have seen the Lord's right hand filling the heaven as he helped me. You see the compass of my work like your own. But I have seen the Lord's limitless and perfect compass, which has no end. You hear the words of my lips as I heard the words of the Lord, like great thunder incessantly with hurling of clouds. And now, my children, hear the discourses of the Father of the earth. How fearful and awful it is to come before the face of the ruler of the earth. How much more terrible and awful it is to come before the face of the ruler of heaven, the controller, judge, of quick and dead, and of the heavenly troops. Who can endure that endless pain? That's pretty intense.
It is, yeah.
So we have here meeting with God described as endless pain. I'm
guessing he's just so overwhelming in presence.
Yeah, like he's very overwhelming. Like it's fearful and awful. Probably awful as in full of awe. Right?
Yeah.
But to describe it as endless pain makes it sound a lot more negative.
It does, and there's no commentary on that. Maybe he has an answer for it.
Chapter 40. And now, my children, I know all things, for this is from the Lord's lips, and this my eyes have seen from beginning to end. I know all things, and have written all things into books, the heavens and their end, and their plenitude, and all the armies and their marchings. I have measured and described the stars, the great countless multitude of them. What man has seen their revolutions and their entrances? For not even the angels see their number, while I have written all their names. And I measured the sun's circle, and measured its rays, counted the hours. I wrote down too all things that go over the earth. I have written the things that are nourished, and all seed sown and unsown, which the earth produces, and all plants, and every grass, and every flower, and their sweet smells, and their names, and the dwelling places of the clouds, and their composition, and their wings of the clouds, and how they bear rain and raindrops. And I investigated all things and wrote the road of the thunder and of the lightning. And they showed me the keys and their guardians, their rise, the way they go. It is let out gently in measure by a chain, lest by a heavy chain and violence it hurl down the angry clouds and destroy all things on earth.
So before we continue, I do want to point out something about verse 6. Verse 6 was
the one that describes the chain.
I appointed 4 seasons, and from, or at least in this version, and from the seasons I created 4 cycles, and in the cycles I appointed the year, and I appointed the months, all that stuff. That's verse 6 for me. I don't know what that is for you.
I do not have a thing about the seasons.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's right, because that's the shorter recension.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not in there. I was wondering, where did that go?
How do we know about seasons without Enoch?
Yeah, I thought you were like reading really quickly or something. I was just couldn't keep up. Yeah, there's this whole section here. So
you're so fast.
Yeah,
Ruben.
So it's after for not even the angels know their number. After that, it goes on to say here, the lunar cycle I have measured. I'm pretty sure you have that, right?
I measured the sun's circle.
There's that one, but then after that, it's the lunar one.
I do not have that. So why don't you read that?
Oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, it goes. So I have counted, and its entrances, and all the months, and its departures, and all its movements. Their names I have written down. You had that, right? Pretty sure you had that.
No, I had that for some of the things, but not for the moon.
Okay. So then it goes on after that to be the moon. The lunar cycle I have measured, and its movements, which are in accordance with each day, and the diminution which it undergoes during each day and night in accordance with all the hours. I appointed 4 seasons, and from the seasons I created 4 cycles. And in the cycles I appointed the year, and I appointed months, and from the months I counted days, and from the days I measured off the hours and counted them and wrote them down. And everything that is nourished on the earth I have investigated and written down, and every seed, sown and not sown, which grows from the earth, and all the garden plants, and all the grasses, and all the flowers, and their delightful fragrances, and their names.
Yeah, I had the flowers.
Okay, yeah. So there's a whole section there about the seasons that just wasn't in your version. So there is some commentary on that here. So verse 6 for me would be more appropriate in the mouth of the Creator, because you're appointing seasons here. It gives the impression that the seasons and cycles are units larger than a year, and the number 4 could point to a bisextile year of the bisextile year of the Julian calendar. Philo did not interpret the appointed times of Genesis 1:14 liturgically, the original meaning, but as the 4 seasons of the year.
Well, so on the first bit of that commentary, I do want to point out that in chapter 39, he does say directly, announced to you not from my lips, but from the Lord's lips.
Right.
So that does imply that this is the direct word of God.
He also said, yeah, I guess, because it goes down to him saying that... So if he's the scribe too, he does say that he wrote everything down.
Yes.
But he also says that he knows everything. Now, the actual writer of these things, like the person who wrote them down physically, in a sense, I guess, would have been Enoch. but because
In the story.
yeah. Even if it is the word of God.
Let's call the author of Second Enoch Pseudo Enoch.
Okay.
Yeah, because we don't know his name.
Well, yeah, obviously, but like in Second Enoch, Enoch is writing things down.
Yeah. I wrote the treasure houses of the snow, and the storehouses of the cold, and the frosty airs, and I observed their season's key holder. He fills the clouds with them, and does not exhaust the treasure houses. So by the key holder, I assume he means God.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah. Or one of the angels who's assigned to.
Wrote down the treasuries of the snow and the storehouses of the cold and the frosty winds, and I observed how, depending on the season, their custodians fill up the clouds with them, and their treasuries are not emptied.
Okay, so key holder is translated to custodians there.
I guess, yeah.
So a key holder would imply a singular person or angel or divine
Or a
being.
job.
Well, this is
custodians would imply multiple.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And I wrote the resting places of the winds, and observed and saw how their key holders bear weighing scales and measures. First they put them in one weighing scale, then in the other the weights, and let them out according to measure cunningly over the whole earth, lest by heavy breathing they make the earth to rock. So with the scale imagery, traditionally that would be associated with like ideas of justice.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it would be a just like division of hours and seasons and winds and stuff.
That is what it seems like, yeah. Because like the scales imagery is used. Okay, so it's used for justice, yes. It's also used a lot for famines and like rationing out food and stuff.
Which is also justice, right? Hopefully.
Yeah, I would say so.
Unless you're like storing up all the food in your storehouse and only portioning out meager little portions. And I measured the whole earth, its mountains, and all hills, fields, trees, stones, rivers, all existing things I wrote down. The height from earth to the seventh heaven, and downwards to the very lowest hell.
Yeah, the very lowest hell. I want to learn more about these divisions of hell.
Yeah, those were not described.
No, we just had that trip through heaven.
Yeah.
So I'm currently looking at it. So the texts of
let me finish this sentence
Go ahead.
first. The very lowest hell, and the judgment place, and the very great open and weeping hell.
Oh wow, yeah. So is there a different hell? Let's find out. So the texts of long manuscripts remain open to the possibility that this hell is in one of the heavens. There is no earlier episode in which Enoch was brought down to a more conventional subterranean hell. Yeah, so
But there were those heavens that were definitely not good.
Yeah, they were really bad in a bunch of spots.
Yeah.
Like, what was it, layer 3?
I don't remember
layer
which one.
4? They were bad.
And I saw how the prisoners are in pain, expecting the limitless judgment. That would be like the angels who are pointed out in that one heaven.
Right.
Yeah. And I wrote down all those being judged by the judge, and all their judgment and sentences and all their works.
Right, so it kind of shifts tones here. So in this longer ascension, you have where it was noted that some of the stuff seems like it is from the creator, right? Like some of it is, like he's talking about, I have assigned the seasons and the days, the months, all that stuff. And there is kind of a tonal shift because now it seems he's referring to the judge in third person. Now I'm assuming here the judge would be God, condemned by the judge. So this it would be a tonal shift.
So Jason points out that the lowest hell appears in Deuteronomy 32:22. I don't know what translation he's using, But here in the Jewish Publication Society's version, which is, I'm pretty sure, based on the Masoretic text.
I would think so, yeah.
It says, "For a fire is kindled in my nostril, and burneth unto the depths of the netherworld."
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that would be the lowest one. We can check Altar.
Yeah.
Altar seems to be pretty good.
And Jason's using the New King James.
Okay. We do have that one as well. I do want to check it out and see what Altar says on it.
Altar might have some commentary.
Yeah, absolutely.
But while you're looking that up, let me get into chapter 41.
Okay.
Chapter 41. "And I saw all forefathers from all time, with Adam and Eve, and I sighed and broke into tears, and said of the ruin of their dishonor, Woe is me for my infirmity, and for that of my forefathers, and thought in my heart, and said, Blessed is the man who has not been born, or who has been born, and shall not sin before the Lord's face, that he come not into this place, nor bring the yoke of this place."
Okay. So one of the things I do want to point out is in one of the papers that I was reading, there was an emphasis on a polemic against the Adamic line. And considering that he's, weeping looking at Adam, this would kind of show that there would be the argument that was made was that basically Enoch here would be like a better Adam. Like he was like Adam in many ways, like walking with God and stuff like that. But he's just better. He didn't fall.
Right.
And
Enoch's line is the one that survives because his child is Methuselah, his child is Noah, who is the only surviving human family.
Was his child Noah?
Methuselah's child. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I'm just. Yeah, I would have to look back and check that. So the translation from Altar on Deuteronomy 32:22, "For fire has flared in my nostrils and blazed to Sheol down below. Eaten up earth and its yield and kindled the mountains' foundations." So yeah, it seems like it's just a Sheol reference. I don't know if it's. I don't know if the word that's been used here is Sheol in Second Enoch. But
probably the New King James uses the lowest hell because it's a Christian text, right?
Well, the thing is, they don't. Sheol is in there, and I don't think there are I think there are plenty of verses in. We have it in the King James, and I'm guessing we have it in the New King James too. I guess we haven't been reading the New King James, but I would think that they just have Sheol in there instead of always saying lowest hell or even just hell. It's not really necessary. So the Christian understanding of hell wouldn't implicate them translating.
Well,
it
we
that
can
differently.
also point out that there were many translators working on the King James.
That is true.
So one of them may have translated Sheol as hell, whereas others might not.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
All right, let's continue with chapter 42. "I saw the key holders and guards of the gates of hell standing like great serpents, and their faces like extinguishing lamps, and their eyes of fire, their sharp teeth. And I saw all the Lord's works, how they are right, while the works of man are some good and others bad, and in their works are known those who lie evilly." So these key holders and guards of the gates of hell, they're like serpents.
Those who lie evilly. So with their faces like lamps that have been extinguished, and their eyes aflame, and their teeth naked down to their breasts.
So here it's sharp teeth. So we can probably presume that these are serpent-like creatures with smoky faces, fiery eyes, and long, sharp teeth.
Oh, okay. So here's some commentary on that, on why the translation might be different.
Mm-hmm.
So the mention of Adam and Eve could be a Christian touch. Early legends about the harrowing of hell usually note that Adam and Eve were waiting for the arrival of the ransomer. He also notes to see a later verse. Yeah, to see a little bit later, 42:5.
Which I just read chapter 42, and it was only one verse long in this version.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is much longer in here.
Oh, well, why don't you read it then?
Okay, I will. Okay, so yours was one verse long?
Yes, it was just, I saw the key holders and guards of the gates of hell standing like great serpents, and their faces like extinguishing lamps, and their eyes of fire, their sharp teeth, and I saw all the Lord's works, how they are right, while the works of man are some good and others bad, and in their works are known those who lie evilly.
Wow, that is quite different here. So, and I said to their faces, it would have been better if I had not seen you, nor heard about your activities, nor that any member of my tribe had been brought to you. To what a small extent they have sinned in this life, but in the eternal life they will suffer. And then it continues on. There's even more. And I ascended to the east, into the paradise of Edom, where rest is prepared for the righteous, and it is open as far as the third heaven, but it is closed off from this world. And the guards are appointed at the very large gates to the east of the sun, angels of flame, singing victory songs, never silent, rejoicing at the arrival of the righteous. When the last one arrives, he will bring out Adam, together with the ancestors, and he will bring them in there, so that they may be filled with joy, just as a person invites his best friends to have dinner with him, and they arrive with joy. And they talk together in front of that man's palace, waiting with joyful anticipation to have dinner with delightful enjoyments and riches that cannot be measured. And there is more. But yeah, we get another reference to Adam, and this is where the commentary kind of continues. So if the last one is Christ, his identity is well concealed. So that's like a possible Christian touch there. Yes, delightful enjoyments and riches that cannot be measured, and joy and happiness in eternal light and life. And I say to you, my children, happy is the person who reverences the name of the Lord, and who serves in front of his face always, and who organizes his gifts with fear, offerings of life, and who in this life lives and dies correctly. Happy is he who carries out righteous judgment, not for the sake of payment, but for justice, not expecting anything whatever as a result. And the result will be that judgment without favoritism will follow for him. Happy is he who clothes the naked with his garment, and to the hungry gives his bread. Happy is he who judges righteous judgment for orphan and widow, and who helps anyone who has been treated unjustly. Happy is he who turns aside from the secular path of this vain world. Oh, damn. That's us.
Oh, no.
I'm pretty happy and secular.
Of this vain world, and walks in the right paths, and who lives in that life which is without end. Happy is he who sows right seed, for he shall harvest sevenfold. Happy is he in whom is the truth, so that he may speak the truth to his neighbor. Happy is he who has compassion on his lips and gentleness in his heart. Happy is he who understands all the works of the Lord performed by the Lord and glorifies him. For the works of the Lord are right, but the works of mankind, some are good, but others are evil. And by their works, those who speak lying blasphemies are recognized. So that very ending is the part that's in yours.
Mm-hmm. Now, that's very interesting. And actually, I do think that this particular section is very interesting because it takes the genre to a different level, right? Because previously, we were very much in the realm of Heckalot literature. But here, it seems almost as if we're reading a wisdom book.
It does. It does seem a lot like that. like all this happy as he stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder, it seems like a poem, right?
It does.
I wonder if in the original language, that would be more obvious. Is there any commentary that would suggest some kind of meter?
I'm not sure about meter, but let's take a look at some of this commentary. So the language suggests that this paradise is on the level of Earth, even though Enoch ascends to it. Its location in the east beyond. Okay, so yeah, usually they talk about Eden in the east, I think.
Yeah.
Beyond where the sun rises is more like the abode of the blessed in Mesopotamian tradition than anything said about paradise in the rest of Enoch. So yeah, as I talked about, there is that possible reference to Jesus. The form of moral instruction by beatitude, familiar in the New Testament, has a strong eschatological thrust. It represents a remarkable fusion of the wisdom and apocalyptic traditions. It relates the form of the eternal reward to a person's temporal behavior. The same pattern applies to punishment. The golden rule is turned around. What you did to others, good or bad, will be done to you.
You know, thinking
much it.
back to the bit about the lowest hell, how that isn't described in here.
Mm-hmm.
We've already established that it's likely the case that the author of Second Enoch, or authors, had access to and read First Enoch, at the very least,
absolutely.
reading the astronomical book.
Absolutely.
So it may be the case that what he's referring to there is the descriptions of Sheol that are included in First Enoch.
That would make sense.
So let's hop into chapter 43.
Although, of course, it does depend on the actual language that's used.
Right.
Yeah.
Chapter 43. I, my children, measured and wrote out every work and every measure and every righteous judgment. As 1 year is more honorable than another, so is one man more honorable than another. Some for great possessions, some for wisdom of heart, some for particular intellect, some for cunning, one for silence of lip, another for cleanliness, one for strength, another for comeliness, one for youth, another for sharp wit, one for shape of body, another for sensibility. Let it be heard everywhere, but there is none better than he who fears God. He shall be more glorious in time to come. So yeah, now it seems like we're definitely in the realm of wisdom literature. This almost reads like Kohelet.
It does quite a bit, although I just thought it was a little funny that they had that some are honorable because of their bodily appearance.
Mm-hmm.
or their handsome appearance. That's the translation here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now we're in chapter 44. The Lord with his hands, having created man in the likeness of his own face, the Lord made him small and great. Whoever reviles the ruler's face and abhors the Lord's face has despised the Lord's face, and he who vents anger on any man without injury, the Lord's great anger will cut him down. He who spits on the face of man reproachfully, he will be cut down at the Lord's great judgment. Blessed is the man who does not direct his heart with malice against any man, and helps the injured and condemned, and raises the broken down, and shall do charity to the needy. Because on the day of the great judgment, every weight, every measure, and every make weight will be as in the market. That is to say, they are hung on scales and stand in the market, and everyone shall learn his own measure, and according to his measure shall take his reward.
So before we continue, can you just reread the very beginning of that chapter?
The Lord with his hands, having created man in the likeness of his own face, the Lord made him small and great.
Okay. So either I totally missed something, or because that is in here as well. I guess I must have missed something. Okay, no, that's fine.
So the idea is that because human beings are made in the image of God, you don't revile human beings. even if they're deserving of judgment, because they'll get their judgment on the judgment day.
Right. Even though the thing before was like, okay, I don't know.
This cosmic scale thing being applied to every human reminds me of the feather of Ma'at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Not even just that. I mean, scales have been used in like so many cultures because it implies balance.
Yes. Chapter 45. Whoever hastens to make offerings before the Lord's face, the Lord, for his part, will hasten that offering by granting of his work. But whoever increases his lamp before the Lord's face and make not true judgment, the Lord will not increase his treasure in the realm of the highest. When the Lord demands bread or candles or the flesh of beasts or any other sacrifice, then that is nothing. But God demands pure hearts, and with all that only tests the heart of man.
Yeah, it seems like that's pretty much exactly like God, what book was that? The one where he's like, he's not emphasizing sacrifices. He was like, you don't have to sacrifice.
Wasn't that Ezekiel?
Was that Ezekiel? I forget which book it was, but there was.
It was one of the exiled prophets, right? Because it would make sense during the exile that they don't have the temple to sacrifice at.
Yeah, that would make sense. Was it Jeremiah maybe?
I don't think it was Jeremiah.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I do remember that we did go over a text like that.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, chapter 46. Hear, my people, and take in the words of my lips. If anyone brings any gifts to an earthly ruler and have disloyal thoughts in his heart, and the ruler knows this, will he not be angry with him and not refuse his gifts and not give him over to judgment? Or if one man make himself appear good to another by deceit of tongue, but have evil in his heart, then will not the other understand the treachery of his heart and himself be condemned, since his untruth was plain to all? And when the Lord shall send a great light, then there will be judgment for the just and the unjust, and there no one shall escape notice.
I mean,
Yeah, Psalm 51.
I don't think it was the Psalms that I was thinking of, though.
Right, there is a prophet who mentions it, but it's also...
I don't know if it was a prophet or if it was... was it Kohelet?
I don't think it was Kohelet.
I don't think it was the Psalms that I'm thinking of. It's not that one. There was like...
It was definitely something more recent than...
Yeah, that is true. Was it...
It wouldn't be Daniel.
No, it's not Daniel.
No.
Not Daniel.
No.
Hosea?
No, not Hosea.
No.
Not that recent.
No.
I'm
really guessing Ezekiel.
I don't think it is. Okay, whatever. I'll have to go back and look anyways.
Okay, well, do what you got to do.
Okay.
Chapter 47.
Favorite number.
And now, my children, lay thought on your hearts. Mark well the words of your father, which are all come to you from the Lord's lips. Take these books of your father's handwriting and read them, for the books are many, and in them you will learn all the Lord's works, all that has been from the beginning of creation, and will be till the end of time. So here, it's confirmed that Enoch did bring the books with him.
Yes, he did.
Yes. And if you will observe my handwriting, you will not sin against the Lord, because there is no other except the Lord, neither in heaven nor in earth, nor in the very lowest places, nor in the one foundation.
Nor in the deepest places. Nor in the one foundation. It's fine. Never mind.
So the one foundation.
Yeah.
That's very different than the cosmology that's presented in First Enoch, where there's like this endless pit. Where even here they have an endless pit in Second Enoch, which is the abyss, right?
Yeah.
And that would imply that it goes past wherever the one foundation is. But here we have a one foundation.
Well, there's
So
no
there-
foundation in the abyss.
I do.
I'll fill that out.
There is some commentary here. So the portions of this verse found only in long manuscripts correspond to the structure of the cosmos described in chapters 24 through 33. The foundation is that in 24:5.
Mm. The Lord has placed the foundations in the unknown and has spread forth heavens, visible, physical, and invisible, spiritual. He fixed the earth on the waters.
Just do the 24:5 one. But the Son has rest in himself, yet I did not find rest, because everything was not yet created. And I thought up the idea of establishing a foundation to create a visible creation.
He fixed the earth on the waters and created countless creatures. And who has counted the water and the foundation of the unfixed, or the dust of the earth, or the sands of the sea, or the drops of the rain, or the morning dew, or the wind's breathings? Who has filled earth and sea, and the indissoluble winter? I cut the stars out of fire, and decorated heaven, and put it in their midst. Now, chapter 48. Why don't you start reading?
Sure.
I've just read,
You did read quite a lot, yeah. And this version that I'm reading from does have titles to each chapter.
All right, I'm going to hop to the restroom.
Oh, are you? Okay, then. About the solar movement along the 7 circles. And the note here is the chapter heading of one of the manuscripts, at least, seems to interrupt the list of created things, which in some other manuscripts breaks off at this point. Even J, the manuscript that they're using here, one of the longer ones, has a major stop at this point with a large capital letter to mark a new chapter. About the solar movement along the 7 circles. The sun, and it seems that verse 1 contains another version of the 364-day year. This should be quite enough to vindicate its authenticity. It looks like it's kind of a continuation, honestly. The sun, so that he might travel along the 7 celestial circles, which are appointed with 182 thrones, so that he might descend to the shortest day, and once more 182, so that he might descend to the longest day. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if... I mean, that would make sense. That would make sense.
That's math.
Yeah. And it's just, astronomically speaking, yeah. It's there is a point at the solstice, right? He also has 2 great thrones where he pauses when he turns around in this direction and in the other direction, higher than the lunar thrones. From the month Sivan, from the 17th day he descends until the month Theved, and from the 17th day of Theved he ascends. This is once you hit the solstice, it's there for 3 days around, right? And then
both solstices.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and in this way, the sun moves along all the celestial circles. When he comes close to the earth, then the earth is merry and makes its fruit grow. Oh, see, that's just wrong. That's not what happens at all.
No.
But when he goes away, then the earth laments, and the trees and all fruits have no productivity. All this is by measurement, and by the most precise measurement of the hours. He fixed it by measure, by his own wisdom, that is everything visible and invisible. From the invisible things and the visible things he created all the visible things, and he himself is invisible. Thus I am making it known to you, my children, and you must hand over the books to your children, and throughout all your generations, and to your relatives, and among all nations who are discerning, so that they may fear God, and so that they may accept them. And they will be more enjoyable than any delightful food on earth. And they will read them and adhere to them. But those who are undiscerning... Let's see what happens to the undiscerning ones. And who do not understand the Lord, neither fear God nor accept them, but renounce them and regard themselves as burdened by them. A terrible judgment is awaiting them. Happy is the person who puts their yoke on and carries it around, for he will plow on the day of the great judgment. That's kind of a weird...
you get laid on Judgment Day. Nice.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Okay,
just
so
looking forward at Third Enoch, and this is a very interesting setup that they have here. It's very close to the Talmud.
Oh.
In insofar as like it starts with like Rabbi Ishmael said, and then they have like these sections. Look at this, where it's like one commentator and then another commentator, and then they have like let me see if I can find one of these.
That doesn't sound...
Well, they have like chapter 15b, which is additions occurring in different manuscripts, and all sorts of stuff like that. It's a very interesting piece.
It doesn't seem like this one is laid out quite that way, but I don't know. We'll go over it. Obviously, we'll get there. But I do want to. I had a thought, but then you made me lose it. Damn you!
That's your fault.
Right. Okay. So on the word plow there, for he will plow on the day of the great judgment. So neither of the competing readings, plow or find, seem to make sense. While a yoke would make more sense with plowing, I guess. The reading itself, I don't get it. What are they trying to say? Are they gonna do good? Are they gonna do this? I don't know. Is it some kind of agriculture thing where you're
blessed is the man who shall bear their yoke and shall drag them along, for he shall be released on the day of the great judgment. Right?
He'll be released.
Well, that's what it says in here.
Oh, no, I have carries it around, for he will plow on the day of the great judgment. And then the other reading is find, apparently. And I guess they went with released.
Yeah. So I guess the implication, it's like, you know how in some wisdom literature books, they encourage this kind of agricultural lifestyle?
Some, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably something like that.
I'm guessing it's along those lines. Otherwise, it wouldn't really make much sense.
But also, like, he who shall bear their yoke and shall drag them along, right? So this is people who are doing the work that they're supposed to be doing. And here the work is following the word of the Lord, right? Yeah. So
good things will come to them because they are following the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Where was I? Right. Okay. On the day of the great judgment. Now we're on to chapter 49. Enoch teaches his sons not to use an oath, neither by heaven nor by earth, and he points out the covenant of God while they are even in their mother's womb. That's the title.
Oh.
Yeah. For I am swearing to you, my children, but look, I am not swearing by any oath at all, neither by heaven, nor by earth, nor by any other creature which the Lord created. For the Lord said, there is no oath in me, nor any unrighteousness, but only truth.
So anyone who says, I swear to God, they're doing a wrong thing, according to Enoch, in 2nd Enoch.
Well, it's...
The Lord said, there is no oath in me. Which sounds very strange because he does make oaths, right?
But it's only truth.
Okay.
Apparently.
But he makes deals.
He does, yeah.
Which is kind of an oath.
No.
Like,
I mean, a little bit, but I would say they're different, right? Because, like, one is, like... Well, I guess a covenant, right, would include an oath. But by itself, it's not an oath. And an oath is not a covenant. It's more like a promise. So
right.
I mean, he makes those too, but
He makes promises. He makes covenants. I guess there's no oath, but when he says that he's going to do, I mean, it's basically an oath, right?
unless they're strictly looking at oaths as bad things.
Right. Or as like a, see, it's really weird because usually an oath is like, I solemnly swear that I will do this, right? And didn't he do that in Genesis after he flooded the earth? He was like, I'm not going to do that again, right? That's an oath. And he even put up a sign, which was the rainbow, right? As a sign of his promise. And that sounds like an oath to me.
Yeah, I would say it's an oath. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know unless the
Maybe because this takes place before the flood.
yeah, I guess.
I guess at this point
Sure.
in time,
Sure.
there's no oath in him.
I guess. Yeah. Yeah, nor any unrighteousness, but only truth. So if there is no truth in human beings, then let them make an oath by means of the words yes, yes. Or if it should be the other way around, no, no. Oh, okay, here we go. And I make an oath to you, yes, yes, that even before any person was in his mother's womb, individually, a place I prepared for each soul, as well as a set of scales and a measurement of how long he intends him to live in this world, so that each person may be investigated with it. Yes, children, do not deceive yourselves, for ahead of the time, a place has been prepared there for each human soul. So, predestination.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that sounds like to me.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you agree to the predestination,
Mm-hmm.
which is weird.
Yay, yay. And nay, nay.
Yes, yes.
Is what it says here.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Either way, chapter 50.
Are you going to read chapter 50?
Yeah.
Not yes, yes.
Oh, sorry. Yes, yes.
Ha, great. Am I going to read chapter 50?
No, no.
Oh.
Wow.
Title: About how no one can hide himself who is born on the earth, nor can his achievement be kept secret, but he commands to be meek, to endure assaults and insults, and not to harm widows and orphans. That's the title.
Great.
I have set down the achievements of each person in the writings, and no one can hide himself who is born on the earth, nor can his achievement be kept secret. I see everything as if in a mirror. Now, therefore, my children, in patience and meekness abide for the number of your days, so that you may inherit the final, endless age that is coming. Every assault and every persecution and every evil word endure for the sake of the Lord. If the injury and persecution happen to you on account of the Lord, then endure them all for the sake of the Lord. And if you are able to take vengeance with 100-fold revenge, do not take vengeance, neither on one who is close to you, nor one who is distant from you. For the Lord is the one who takes vengeance, and he will be the avenger for you on the day of the great judgment, so that there may be no acts of retribution here from human beings, but only from the Lord.
This is very short in this version. It says, if ill requitals befall you, return them not either to neighbor or enemy, because the Lord will return them for you and be your avenger on the day of great judgment, that there will be no avenging here among men.
That is incredibly short.
I
Wow.
won't fight you guys. I'll do the fighting for you.
Mm-hmm.
And this seems to continue a little bit.
Yeah, there's a little more.
Yeah. Let each one of you put up with the loss of his gold and silver on account of a brother, so that he may receive a full treasury in that age. Widows and orphans and foreigners do not distress, so that God's anger does not come upon you. So,
Very wisdom literature.
yes, but I'm also guessing this is like the yoke that we were talking about.
Mm-hmm. This is part of it, at least.
Yeah. Chapter 51.
I wonder, there's a set of rules that are laid out here and in other parts of Enoch. Right?
Yeah.
Second Enoch. People talk about the Noahide laws and about the Decalogue, and in general, the commandments of Noah. I never hear anyone talk about the laws of Enoch.
Me neither. I mean, a lot of them, most of them is stuff you would just find in other wisdom texts.
Yeah. Some of it, though, is like very specific to Second Enoch, like the yes, yes, no, no thing.
About the covenant, yeah.
Yeah.
You better remember.
Or about
that.
oaths, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, when you guys die, you got to remember.
Yes,
that.
yes.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Why don't you read chapter 51?
I will. Enoch teaches his sons that they should not hide away treasure in the earth, but he commands to give alms to the poor. That's the title. Stretch out your hands to the needy in accordance with your strength. Do not hide your silver in the earth. Help a believer in affliction, and then affliction will not find you in your treasures and in the time of your work. Every kind of afflictive and burdensome yoke, if it comes upon you for the sake of the Lord, carry everything and put it off, and thus you will find your reward on the day of judgment. In the morning of the day, and in the middle of the day, and in the evening of the day, it is good to go to the Lord's temple on account of the glory of your Creator. For every kind of spirit glorifies him, and every kind of creature, visible and invisible, praises him.
All right.
Okay, I was just checking to see if there were any, maybe there was something here on temple rites, I don't know, or temple, on certain rituals. So chapter 52, God teaches those who believe in him how they have to praise his name.
Mm.
You got to know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Happy is the person who opens his lips for praise of the God of Sabaoth.
Yes, Yahweh Sabaoth, right?
Yep. Hold on, that's what, 52, right? Yes, that is 52. Okay, so apparently that's actually a gloss of one of the texts, of one of the manuscripts. C21:1. So it's comment on verse 2 in the spirit of chapter 44. The use of God rather than Lord betrays the Christian scribe. Okay, interesting. And praises the Lord with his whole heart. And cursed is every person who opens his heart for insulting and insults the poor and slanders his neighbor, because that person slanders God. Happy is the one who opens his lips, both blessing and praising God. Cursed is he who opens his lips for cursing and blasphemy before the face of the Lord all his days. Happy who blesses all the works of the Lord. Cursed who despises any of the Lord's creatures. Happy who looks carefully to the raising up of the works of his own hand. Cursed who looks and is jealous to destroy another. Then it does continue, I think. Yes, it does.
Yeah, mine does not have those two pieces.
Oh.
Mine goes, cursed is he who brings the Lord's creation into contempt. Blessed is he who looks down and raises the fallen. Cursed is he who looks to and is eager for the destruction of what is not his.
Interesting. Okay. I'm going to continue on with this version.
Yeah.
Happy who preserves the foundation of his most ancient fathers, made firm from the beginning. Cursed he who breaks down the institutions of his ancestors and fathers.
So mine has both of those, but I guess yours doesn't have raising the fallen or eager for the destruction of what is not his.
I guess not.
Interesting.
Shorter version has more sometimes.
Yeah, they're really, really different. Happy who cultivates the love of peace. Cursed who disturbs those who are peaceful by means of love. Happy is he who, even though he does not speak peace with his tongue, nevertheless in his heart there is peace toward all. Cursed who with his tongue speaks peace, but in his heart there is no peace, but a sword. Yeah.
Mine has the opposite implication. Blessed is he who speaks with humble tongue and heart to all. Whereas yours says
No, they had
does
that.
not
Oh,
speak.
yeah.
but
There are both. He had both. He had a guy who spoke and was humble, and he had a guy who also gave peace and said nothing.
No. Okay, so there's someone. So one of the blessed ones is a person who, even though he doesn't necessarily say a whole lot, he speaks more with his actions than with his words. And then a person who's cursed is someone who keeps saying good things, but they're actually assholes.
Do you have the next verse?
Yes.
Okay.
For all these things will be weighted in the balances and exposed in the books of the great judgment, or on the great judgment day. You know, that description earlier, that kind of sounds a lot like the fool in Psalms.
Yeah. I'd say.
So on to chapter 53. Here's the title. Let us not say, our Father is in front of God. He will appear in front of God for us on the day of judgment. For there a father cannot help a son, nor yet a son a father.
I bet this person read Daniel.
So now, my children, do not say, our Father is with God, and he will stand in front of God for us, and he will pray for us concerning our sins. For there is no helper here, or there is no helper there, not even for any one person who has sinned. See how I have written down all the deeds of every person before the creation, and I am writing down what is done among all persons forever, and no one can contradict my handwriting, because the Lord sees all the evil thoughts of mankind, how vain they are, where they lie in the treasuries of the heart. So now, my children, pay close attention to all your father's sayings, whatever I say to you, so that you will not be sorry, saying, our father warned us. See, this is always such a weird one, right? So you have this very clear idea of what everybody's going to do. It's already been written.
Yes.
And then they're acting like there's free will.
You're free to follow the plan.
You know, have you ever read or watched Watchmen?
No.
Okay, so Dr. Manhattan is omnipotent. He knows what is going to happen. But in the moment, he acts as if he doesn't, and things still affect him as if he didn't know that they were going to happen. So it's like like if you were to read a book about playing guitar like Yngwie Malmsteen, but were to never practice playing the guitar, right? How you wouldn't know how to play the guitar. You would know, like you would have,
but you wouldn't actually know,
right? So
Of awareness.
maybe it implies that there's like that kind of distinction here.
I guess part of the plan is to have to be told to follow the plan.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's really the only way to put that together.
Yep.
Yeah, I suppose.
Keep reading.
Okay. So chapter 54.
Mm-hmm.
Enoch instructs his sons so that they may hand on the books to others also.
So before you read chapter 54,
What?
how long is your chapter 54?
Not that long.
Okay. Neither is mine. I wanted to make sure because this is only 2 sentences.
Okay. I guess, yeah, this one also looks like it's about the same length. At that time, about this ignorance of yours, and this looks like it's a continuation from the last verse. At that time, about this ignorance of yours, so that they may be for your inheritance of peace. The books which I have given you, do not hide them. To all who wish, recite them, so that they may know about the extremely marvelous works of the Lord.
So this is different than those apocryphal books that are written about in other books, which are hidden.
Right.
Yeah, some of them are hidden, yeah.
Yep.
That was the whole chapter, so on to chapter 55, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Here Enoch shows his sons and with tears speaks to them. My children, the hour for me to go up to heaven has arrived.
Wait. My children, behold.
Wait, hold on. I was getting to that.
Oh, you don't have.
No, I was reading the title.
Oh, that's in the title?
His titles are long.
But that's the first verse.
I
here.
know.
But then the title is also the first verse.
It's tautological.
Why?
I don't know why. That's just how it is.
That's horrible.
I know, but anyways, behold!
Behold!
The angels are standing in front of me. That was the title. Now on to the first verse here.
Okay.
For behold!
Behold!
My children, the prescribed day has arrived, and the appointed time confronts me. It urges me on to my departure from you, and the angels who wish to go with me are standing on the earth, waiting for what they have been told. For tomorrow morning I shall go up to the highest heaven, into the highest Jerusalem, into my eternal inheritance.
Why would he say Jerusalem when Jerusalem is a city that doesn't exist at this point in time?
Because this is so God is at the highest heaven, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where he's sitting.
Yes.
And God chose Jerusalem to be where he's meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
So this would just be a heavenly Jerusalem before Jerusalem. So eschatologically speaking, the return, like having a new Jerusalem, a new heaven, a new earth kind of thing.
But this wouldn't be a new Jerusalem. This would be just this.
This would be the Jerusalem that
spiritual.
actual Jerusalem would have been like molded after.
Right. So, like canonically speaking,
It's invisible right now.
if we were to put this into the Bible, right, and put it right after Genesis or before Genesis or in the middle of Genesis, right, then this would be the first mention of the word Jerusalem, and there would be no context for it whatsoever. The Enoch's kids would be sitting here hearing this stuff from their dad, and they'd be like, what the fuck is a Jerusalem?
That is true. Although I would, like for someone that's reading if it was stuck in the middle of Genesis, then it would only make sense to, considering the time it was written, it would make sense to people already know who it is or already know what it is.
Yeah, it's for the readers, and the authors are later, so yeah.
Yeah, but that is one thing that makes it very clearly pseudepigraphal. Right.
Yeah, I would say so. But like I think that this there is a note here. What is that? That's chapter 55. Yeah, the identification of the highest heaven as Jerusalem. Oh, but apparently that's only in one manuscript.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. That it would be in both of these versions when it's only in one manuscript.
Apparently it's or maybe it's in more than one manuscript, but it's weird in this manuscript because he notes it as a peculiarity.
Yeah.
Of that one manuscript. So into my eternal inheritance, that is why I am commanding you, my children, so that you may do all that is well-pleasing before the face of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Now on to 56.
Yes.
Here's the title. Methuselah asks from his father a blessing so that he may prepare some food for him to eat. That was the title.
So this is Methuselah.
Yes. So Methuselah, and that's the version of the name that's used here,
Mm-hmm.
answered his father and said, "What is pleasing in your eyes, Enoch?" Calls him by his first name.
See, in here it says, Methuselah, having answered his father Enoch, said, "What is agreeable to your eyes, father?"
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, what is pleasing to your eyes, Enoch? Let us prepare food in front of your face. He just said he was going to be carried away by angels, but okay, I guess final meal, why not? So that you may bless our houses and your children. Wait, hold on. Wasn't this supposed to be, didn't it say that this was before they were born? Or was he just talking about?
No.
Okay, yeah, he was just talking about them like, yeah, things are known before you're born. Okay, I see. All right, so yeah, he's saying, what can we get you? So that you may bless our houses and your children and all your household, and your people will be glorified by you. And thus, after that, you will go away, as the Lord wills. Enoch answered his son Methuselah and said, "Listen, child, since the time when the Lord anointed me with the ointment of his glory, food has not come into me, and earthly pleasure my soul does not remember, nor do I desire anything earthly." See, this is like a straight up, he has been turned into an angel.
Yeah. Well,
I guess
he was put into the angelic clothing earlier.
Yeah.
Right?
So
we have this tradition of
Metatron. Not even just an angel. This is like a higher angel.
Yes.
Although it's really interesting here because I think I remember when we were reading some commentary on manna from heaven, and it was some rabbis thought that it was food for angels.
Yeah.
Right. So that's really interesting how that would not work there because in this. Maybe this specific class of angel that he is part of does not need food. Maybe others do. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it's just interesting.
Or the manna is not considered an earthly food.
Well, yeah, it's not an earthly food. That's for sure.
Right. Here in my translation, it says, "There has been no food in me, and my soul remembers not earthly enjoyment, neither do I want anything earthly." Right? So... like if we say that the manna is like heavenly food,
but wouldn't it still be considered food then?
Maybe.
Oh, there's 10 heavens in this version. One of those points.
Yeah, it's a very specific heaven that it's from.
But this would also be different because the spiritual here, which angels are and which God is not physical, right? So the manna that is presented to the Hebrews in the desert would be like a physical manna.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So an embodiment of the spiritual, non-physical manna that exists
Manna
in heaven.
region hasn't been around for a while, you know. We don't have a manna bar anymore, but back in the day, you know, they all had one, and that's what they're talking about.
How was I not expecting that he would say something like that?
Yeah.
Let's continue, I guess.
Please.
There is a note here on the food, though. There is confusion between brasno, food, and strasno. Oh, actually, hold on. I think since this is Slavonic, right?
Yes.
There are some similarities here, which I'm guessing this is supposed to be pronounced strashna, which they're translating as unpleasant. Maybe that's true in like, because this is, even though it's not Russian, right? In Russian, strashna means scary.
Oh.
So it's pretty similar. So that's why I figured that would be how you pronounce it. So it'd be brashna, food, and strashna, unpleasant. It could be a secondary pun within the Slav tradition, since other manuscripts read food solely. But all long manuscripts read anything earthly instead of earthly food. Mm-hmm. The matter is complicated by inconsistent use of the negative and variations in the idiomatic use of the cases. Enoch's categorical disavowal seems to imply that there is no eating in heaven, but there are fruit trees in paradise, and chapter 42:5 has the traditional heavenly banquet of Jewish and Christian eschatology. That's right at the very end.
Yes.
Although, if angels aren't eating food, that would be different, right? Because would they become angels, eschatologically speaking?
I don't know.
I don't think they
Maybe
would.
the souls of dead human beings eat food.
Maybe, yeah.
Something needs to eat it.
Or maybe even like the live ones. I don't know if they would be. I don't know if you consider that an ascension necessarily. Not in the same way as Enoch or Elijah or anything.
Well, Enoch definitely ascends. He gets clothed in angelic clothing, and he gets angelic relics. So like the paper and writing utensil that he uses, and he accesses angelic writings.
Yeah, I would say that Enoch's his status changes.
Yeah.
But like with someone like Elijah, like would you because he's taken up to heaven, right? But would you consider that a status change? I don't know.
I mean, it's definitely
We weren't really told that much about it.
signifying him of a different class than general human beings.
Right.
Right. But maybe that could just be like a preferential thing. It's not as outright like he's given holy relics from the angels and like draped in angel clothing.
Yeah,
and-
exactly. So I would say that there's probably a difference between so you have Enoch, right? Like in this tradition, it seems like he's at this very high class, like as close as you can possibly be to God. And then you have all these other angels who may or may not eat food, who may or may not eat manna, I should say. And then you have maybe like where just people who have ascended are. I don't know, like someone like an Elijah. And then you have like once the end comes and you have this new heaven and new earth, maybe that would be a whole different class. Because if you're like alive and then all this stuff happens, then like would you be on the same point as angels? I don't know.
Well, so there is the Metatron tradition, right? Which we get into in 3rd Enoch.
We will, yeah.
Which outright says that Enoch becomes an angel.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And that's where you have a pretty solid identification with Enoch as Metatron.
Yeah. So maybe there's like varying degrees of ascension.
I would say so.
Yeah.
That would be a really cool thing to
Do a video
to study. Yeah.
Yeah.
Degrees of ascension.
Yeah.
Oh.
As it only really happens to a couple of characters.
Like
Yeah,
Sloth.
absolutely. Where was I even?
Chapter 57.
Okay, chapter 57, because I did finish 56. Okay. So chapter 57. Here's the title. Enoch commands his son Methuselah to summon all his brothers. But my child Methuselah, call all your brothers and all the members of your households and the elders of the people, so that I may speak to them and depart, as it has been predetermined for me. And Methuselah hurried and summoned his brothers, Regim and Riman and Ukan and Kermion and Gaidad and the elders of all the people. And he summoned them before the face of his father Enoch, and they prostrated themselves in front of his face. And Enoch looked upon them, and he blessed them, and he spoke to them, saying, and now we're in the next chapter, chapter 58. Listen to me, my children, today. In the days of our father Adam, the Lord came down onto the earth on account of Adam, and he inspected all his creatures which he himself had created in the beginning of the 1,000 ages, and when after all those he had created Adam. He created Adam. And the Lord summoned all the animals of the earth and all the reptiles of the earth and all the birds that fly in the air. And he brought them all before the face of our father Adam, so that he might pronounce names for all the quadrupeds. And Adam named everything that lives on the earth. And the Lord appointed him over everything as king. And he subjected everything to him in subservience under his hand, both the dumb and the deaf to be commanded, and for submission and for every servitude. So also to every human being, the Lord created mankind to be the Lord of all his possessions. And the Lord will not judge a single animal soul for the sake of man, but human souls he will judge for the sake of the souls of their animals. In the great age, there is a special place for human beings, and just as every human soul is according to number, so also it is with animal souls. And not a single soul which the Lord has created will perish until the great judgment, and every kind of animal soul will accuse the human beings who have fed them badly. So,
feed your pets well.
All dogs go to heaven, confirmed.
Yes, all dogs go to heaven.
Yeah. And yeah, when they're talking about, appointing Adam over everything, I assume we're going to get into some of the bad stuff he did.
Yeah. I'll take over at chapter 60.
Okay. But yeah, at some point I assume we're going to see we will see some similar language that was used to describe Adam here and in Genesis, being used to describe Enoch.
Yes.
So, chapter 59. Enoch teaches all his sons why they should not touch an ox because of the outflow.
Oh.
Let's see.
Alphabet of Bensira, what?
Right? Okay, I guess let's see what this one's about. Chapter 59. He who acts lawlessly with the soul of an animal acts lawlessly with his own soul. Oh boy, is this exactly what I think it's going to be? For a person brings one of the clean animals to make a sacrifice on account of sin, so that he may have healing for his soul. If he brings it to the sacrifice from clean animals and birds and cereals, then then there is healing for that person, and he will heal his soul. Everything that has been given to you for food, bind by 4 legs, so as to perform the healing properly. And there is healing, and he will heal his soul. And he who puts to death any kind of animal without bonds puts his own soul to death, and acts lawlessly with his own flesh. And he who does any kind of harm whatsoever to any kind of animal in secret, it is an evil custom, and he acts lawlessly with his own soul. So it looks like this is more about sacrifice than anything, which we were just told doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe that's why there's the inclusion.
Well, this isn't just about sacrifice. It's about killing of animals in general.
Well, there is that. So they start off with sacrifices, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it goes on to talk about the killing of animals in general, especially in secret. So it's not an actual sacrifice. Mm-hmm. So you defiled yourself by doing this.
All right, I'll start up with chapter 60. He who works the killing of a man's soul kills his own soul and kills his own body, and there is no cure for him for all time. He who puts a man in any snare shall stick in it himself, and there is no cure for him for all time. He who puts a man in any vessel, his retribution will not be wanting at the great judgment for all time. He who works crookedly or speaks evil against any soul will not make justice for himself for all time. Now we're in chapter 61. And now, my children, keep your hearts from every injustice which the Lord hates. Just as a man asks something for his own soul from God, so let him do to every living soul, because I know all things, how in the great time to come there is much inheritance prepared for men, good for the good, and bad for the bad, without number many. Blessed are those who enter the good houses, for in the bad houses there is no peace, nor return from them. Hear, my children, small and great. When man puts a good thought in his heart, brings gifts from his labors before the Lord's face, and his hands made them not, then the Lord will turn away his face from the labor of his hand, and that man cannot find the labor of his hands. And if his hands made it, but his heart murmur, and his heart cease not making murmur incessantly, he has not any advantage. Now we're in chapter 62.
Yeah, there's not really much to say about those chapters.
Yeah, this is more just commandments. Chapter 62. Blessed is the man who in his patience brings his gifts with faith before the Lord's face, because he will find forgiveness of sins. But if he take back his words before the time, there is no repentance for him. And if the time pass and he do not of his own will what is promised, there is no repentance after death. Because every work which man does before the time is all deceit before men and sin before God.
The only difference here is that it says because everything before the time and after the time, which a person does, both are a scandal before men and a sin before God.
All right. Chapter 63. When man clothes the naked and fills the hungry, he will find reward from God. But if his heart murmur, he commits a double evil, ruin of himself and of that which he gives. And for him there will be no finding of reward on account of that. And if his own heart is filled with his food and his own flesh, clothed with his own clothing, he commits contempt, and will forfeit all his endurance of poverty, and will not find reward of his good deeds. Every proud and magniloquent man is hateful to the Lord, and every false speech clothed in untruth. It will be cut with the blade of the sword of death, and thrown into the fire, and shall burn for all time. The sword of death.
That's a new sword.
Yeah, do you have commentary on the sword of death?
No. Okay, so so for the Lord detests every kind of contemptuous person and every person who makes himself out to be great and every untruthful word stimulated by injustice, and it will be cut out with the blade of the sword of death and thrown into the fire.
So I guess the sword of death is
just death.
Just death.
Death.
Like eventually these bad people will die, and so with that goes away their assholeness, I guess.
Yeah. It could be some Grim Reaper imagery. You know, if this is
It could be
close to a medieval book, then
Reaper didn't always have a
I don't
side.
even know. I don't even know when the Grim Reaper thing started.
Hey, there's another video.
That is true. That is another video.
Yeah,
I don't
there
know
you
if it'd be
go.
up my alley, but it would be interesting.
Yeah,
I would definitely like doing that.
cool. Chapter 64. When Enoch had spoken these words to his sons, all people far and near heard how the Lord was calling Enoch. They took counsel together. Let us go and kiss Enoch. And 2,000 men came together and came to the place Akuzan, where Enoch was, and his sons. Akuzan.
Yeah, so one of the manuscripts actually reads Akuzan, but the other manuscripts are unanimous that it... Wait, hold on. Wait, what? Oh, sorry. I read that wrong. So one of the manuscripts, the short one, a shorter recension, actually reads Azukan, but the other manuscripts are unanimous that it is Akuzan. That's the only description you're getting there. But it's just where he was, it says. Yeah, arrived at the place Akuzan where Enoch was and his sons.
I'm going to look this up.
I suppose you can do that. Yeah, there's not really
Why not?
much. I don't know. Why are you asking me questions? I don't know.
You're the guy with the book.
I am the guy with the book. Yeah, so there's not much past that at all. There is a section that we haven't gotten to yet, though, that there is some commentary on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think Akuzan would just be a place that he is. I don't know if there's any significance to that. I don't even think we've come across it before. Are you finding anything?
Yes, I have found something. A good example of the typical Jewish mindset is revealed by Louis Ginsburg, who writes, Ezra, to whom in 4th Ezra Enoch's part is ascribed, wrote 70 books by the place Akuzan, 68:5.
Yeah.
Jerusalem is to be understood as maybe seen from the above mentioned fragment 91, which reads as follows.
I don't.
He, Melchizedek, shall be priest and king in the place Akuzan.
Okay.
That is to say, in the middle of the earth, where Adam was created. There shall be at last his grave. Since Melchizedek was king of Jerusalem, there cannot be any doubt about the identification of Akuzan. Moreover, Jerusalem is said to be the center of the earth.
Okay, so it's another name, maybe, or an old name.
So it would be like the locality of where Jerusalem eventually was.
I suppose, yeah.
And if we take Akuzan as the place where Adam was created and use that in accordance with a book like Jubilees, then it would make sense with Adam being created outside of Eden and later going into Eden. I guess we might say that Akuzan is where Jerusalem is.
Or will be, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it does have significance, I guess, for priestly stuff, which we will get into next week.
Right. And the elders of the people, the whole assembly, came and bowed down and began to kiss Enoch and said to him, Our father Enoch, may you be blessed of the Lord, the eternal ruler, and now bless your sons and all the people, that we may be glorified today before your face. For you shalt be glorified before the Lord's face for all time, since the Lord chose you rather than all men on earth, and designated you writer of all his creation, visible, physical, and invisible, spiritual, and redeemed of the sins of man, and helper of your household. Chapter 65. And Enoch answered all his people, saying, Hear, my children. Before that all creatures were created, the Lord created the visible, physical, and invisible spiritual things. And as much time as there was and went past, understand that after all that he created man in the likeness of his own form, and put into him eyes to see, and ears to hear, and heart to reflect, and intellect wherewith to deliberate.
You know, that's a whole bunch of stuff idols don't have.
Yes. And the Lord saw all man's works, and created all his creatures, and divided time. From time he fixed the years, and from the years he appointed the months, and from the months he appointed the days, and of days he appointed 7. And in those he appointed the hours, measured them out exactly, that man might reflect on time and count years, months, and hours, their alternation, beginning and end, and that he might count his own life from beginning until death, and reflect on his sin, and write his work bad and good, because no work is hidden before the Lord, that every man might know his works and never transgress all his commandments, and keep my handwriting from generation to generation. When all creation, visible, physical, and invisible, spiritual, as the Lord created it, shall end, then every man goes to the great judgment, and then all times shall perish, and the years, and thenceforward there will be neither months nor days nor hours. They will be adhered together and will not be counted. There will be one eon, and all the righteous who shall escape the Lord's great judgment shall be collected in the great eon. For the righteous the great eon will begin, and they will live eternally. And then, too, there will be amongst them neither labor, nor sickness, nor humiliation, nor anxiety, nor need, nor brutality, nor night, nor darkness, but great light.
Yeah, this is what's coming at the end.
Yes. And they shall have a great indestructible wall. A
Build the wall.
Why would they need a wall? But okay.
I don't know. And a paradise, bright and incorruptible, eternal. For all corruptible mortal things shall pass away, and there will be eternal life.
Yeah, I don't know why they would need a wall.
Why would they need it if there's no brutality or bloodshed? Or violence
Unless I guess Yahweh just likes walls.
You could also just kind of mean that this is a separate realm. It's not going to ever interact with anything else. Indestructible wall meaning ininteractable.
It's not.
Well, you see, this is Enoch in 2nd Enoch predicting the future coming of the great Lord and Savior Donald Trump.
Obviously, that's it. Mm-hmm. Right there. We got
Definitely.
Problem solved. All
100%.
scholarship on Second Enoch is over. There will never be another.
Yep. And the book of Daniel is predicting a partnership between Iran, Russia, and China.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Did you read that on 4chan?
No.
Oh.
Did you post that on 4chan?
Did you post it
No.
on 4chan?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think that would be a pretty entertaining post. I bet it would get a lot of responses.
Yeah, I would.
Chapter 66. And now, my children, keep your souls from all injustice, such as the Lord hates. Walk before his face with terror and trembling and serve him alone. Bow down to the true God, not to dumb idols.
Yeah, stupid idols.
Oh, man. But bow down to his similitude.
Oh my God. The translation in here is to the true God, bow down, not to idols which have no voice.
Well, I mean, that's what dumb means. It's mute.
That's what they're going for.
Yeah,
Okay.
deaf, dumb, and blind.
Yeah.
Sure plays a mean pinball.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Such a subtle wrist.
But bow down to his similitude and bring all just offerings before the Lord's face. The Lord hates what is unjust, for the Lord sees all things. When man takes thought in his heart, then he counsels the intellects, and every thought is always before the Lord, who made firm the earth and put all creatures on it. If you look to heaven, the Lord is there. If you take thought of the seas deep and all the under earth, the Lord is there. For the Lord created all things. Bow not down to things made by man, leaving the Lord of all creation, because no work can remain hidden before the Lord's face. Walk, my children, in long suffering, in meekness, honesty, in provocation, in grief, in faith, and in truth, and in reliance on promises, in illness, in abuse, in wounds, in temptation, in nakedness, in privation, loving one another, till you go out from this age of ills, that you become inheritors of endless time. Blessed are the just who shall escape the great judgment, for they shall shine forth more than the sun sevenfold. For in this world, the seventh part is taken off from all: light, darkness, food, enjoyment, sorrow, paradise, torture, fire, frost, and other things. He put all down in writing that you might read and understand.
So, I guess your translation was a little bit different from mine. So, for in that age, everything is estimated sevenfold: light and darkness and food and enjoyment and misery and paradise and tortures. And it says, fire, frost, etc. So, of course, the factor, the 7 is a very commonly used number, usually used for completeness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's used a lot in biblical tradition. The present passage seems to be inspired by Isaiah 30:26, which predicts that the eschatological sun will be 7 times brighter than the present one. In 65:11, in one of the recensions, the righteous will shine like the sun. Several Christian apocalypses predict that at the Parousia, that's the second coming, by the way, the Parousia, that at the Parousia or in his present glory, the face of Jesus is 7 times brighter than the sun.
All right.
Apparently, the Apocalypse of Peter has that as well, and the Acts of Philip.
Chapter 67. When Enoch had talked to the people, the Lord sent out darkness onto the earth. And there was darkness, and it covered those men standing with Enoch. And they took Enoch up onto the highest heaven, where the Lord is. And he received him and placed him before his face, and the darkness went off from the earth, and light came again. And the people saw and understood not how Enoch had been taken, and glorified God, and found a roll in which was placed the invisible spiritual, in which was traced the invisible spiritual God, and all went to their dwelling place. So here we see how Enoch ascended. Everything got dark, and then Enoch was gone. Yeah. Chapter 68. Last chapter of the day, last chapter of the short version. Enoch was born on the 6th day of the month Sivan, and lived 365 years. He was taken up to heaven on the first day of the month, Sivan, and remained in heaven 60 days. He wrote all these signs of all creation, which the Lord created, and wrote 366 books, and handed them over to his sons, and remained on earth 30 days, and was again taken up to heaven on the 6th day of the month, Sivan, on the very day and hour when he was born. As every man's nature in this life is dark, so are also his conception, birth, and departure from this life. At what hour he was conceived, at that hour he was born, at that hour too he died. Methuselah, here Methuselah, and his brethren, all the sons of Enoch, made haste, and erected an altar at the place called Akuzan, whence and where Enoch had been taken up to heaven. And they took sacrificial oxen and summoned all people and sacrificed the sacrifice before the Lord's face. All people, the elders of the people and the whole assembly, came to the feast and brought gifts to the sons of Enoch.
Yeah, so it looks like it is the Jerusalem before Jerusalem.
Yeah. And they made a great feast, rejoicing and making merry 3 days, praising God, who had given them such a sign through Enoch, who had found favor with him, and that they should hand it on to their sons from generation to generation, from age to age. Amen.
Amen.
And that is the end of this version.
Yeah, but there's still quite a bit in this one. And when I say quite a bit, I mean quite a bit. Now, of course, this does have 2 versions in it, right?
Yes.
Chapter 69 is kind of long. 70 is also kind of long. 71 is kind of long. Actually, 71 is fairly long.
And how many chapters are in the longer version?
73.
All right. Well, we'll be able to finish those.
Yeah, we will. We will.
next time.
It won't be fun, I don't think, but we'll finish them. We will finish them.
Penultimate thoughts on Second Enoch and final thoughts on the short version of Second Enoch.
You know, I think that there is a lot of really cool eschatological stuff, and certainly a lot of really interesting ideas about ascension and like becoming an angel.
Yeah, like the angelology in Second Enoch is really cool. The ascension stuff is really cool. The 7 heavens stuff is really cool.
Absolutely.
The commandments that are given are interesting. Not all of them have parallels in other books. The only thing that I didn't care for was them basically copying and pasting the astronomical book.
Yeah, there were parts.
Yeah, that did happen.
Which was unnecessary, for one thing.
Yeah, because you already have the most important book there is, First Enoch.
Yeah, I mean, without First Enoch, how would you... I guess you could use Second Enoch.
Now you can use that too.
No, see, no, here's the thing. Second Enoch is like... It's not
as detailed.
No, it's not as detailed, but also it's
First Enoch is like the book of the kings of Judah and Israel, and Second Enoch is like the references that we get to it.
It's like Chronicles. Yeah, it's I would just say that Second Enoch is a ripoff of First Enoch. There it is. It's a wannabe Enoch.
So what do you think is the better book between First and Second Enoch?
You know, although I do appreciate the detail that Second Enoch went into for the heavens, and of course some additional angelology, as well as the fate of the universe after the universe ends, it isn't as interesting or as in-depth at certain points as most of First Enoch, minus like the animal apocalypse.
Yeah, I got to agree. The First Enoch is a really cool book.
It is.
It has so much interesting stuff. The Watchers.
Yeah, the Book of the Watchers is like a really... That really gives it that edge up, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do have like mentions of the Watchers, basically, and of the fall of Satan, In
Which
Second
I
Enoch.
did write down because that was something I wanted
Right, and like I said, it has its own stories.
Yeah.
And it's strong there, but it isn't as strong as the first.
Yeah, I would say that the angelology overall is a lot stronger in here.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, when we get to all, like, the, blessed is he who does this, although there is like some there's certainly some usefulness for wisdom research. It's not as cool to read, let's be honest.
Well, I think Second Enoch is more complex in terms of genre. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. Although, because I think the big difference is that because there is so much more scholarship that's been done on First Enoch, we've been able to break it down more, which is why you have like the parables of Enoch, and you have the Book of the Watchers, and you have the astronomical book as separate sections. Whereas, and this one isn't sectioned off that way.
Well,
there aren't even consistent readings.
We can kind of section it off, though. We have the ascension of Enoch, which occurs,
pretty
the
early.
First ascension of Enoch, right? And that could be like the Book of the Seven Heavens, right? Then we have an astronomical book.
Kind of.
And we have a book of the sayings of Enoch.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess that would be it, right? Thank
you.
And
then Melchizedek.
Yeah. Thank you, Tomek, for the $5. Could it be that
you.
Second Enoch wants to supersede First Enoch? That's why some of it doesn't match. It might be the case. I'm not sure if it wants to supersede First Enoch. It might be that they only had access to certain parts of First Enoch.
True, but also this happens a lot in these textual traditions where you have people trying to explain other things in a book, like if you read like the Talmud or something, right?
Or Jubilees.
Yeah, exactly, like Jubilees. Like it's just meant to explain more things that weren't in depth enough. So, for example, like because that's the whole idea of the oral tradition, right? Like that's the stuff that wasn't included in there. So it absolutely does give you things that don't quite match up.
Interesting that they don't have the animal apocalypse at all in Second Enoch.
That is true.
Or like a sequel. That'd be neat if they had the story continue, right? I mean, they kind of had.
I mean, the animal apocalypse. It was just like another way of putting human history in terms.
Yeah, but I mean, these end at different points, right? In First Enoch, the books are given to Noah, basically.
Yeah.
And Noah takes on that tradition. In Second Enoch, it's more implied that his teachings are given to everyone, right? And
well, they're specifically given to his children.
And then his children spread them to everyone. Yeah. But also they call like a gathering of people.
That is true. They
Enoch
did have a gathering.
Yeah. So.
All right. Good summary.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say supersedes would be the word that I would put on it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we.
Oh yeah, but also interesting thing about the reference to Enoch in Jude is the thing is the author of Jude quotes it. He cites it the same way you would cite scripture, like as it is written. So that fact actually led some church fathers, like I believe it was Tertullian. I could be wrong. It could have been some other church father, but they were arguing for the authenticity of First Enoch on the basis of, well, one of the New Testament authors held it in high regard. They thought of it as scripture, therefore it should be scripture. So that was one of the arguments that was used.
I think that the canon, with the addition of First Enoch, is much more complete.
I do actually feel like canon is missing some parts, and Enoch does do a decent job filling those bits in.
Well, if we're talking about completeness, then you may as well add a whole bunch of apocryphal stuff.
Right, but
it's true. You should also add in a bunch of apocrypha. Then, yeah.
There's just
why we're doing this though. It's because it does add another layer of thought that was put into this, and then considered not includable anymore.
Yeah.
But there's just tons of details about things that are basically essential that are included in First Enoch that do not occur in the canon.
Right, because they wouldn't have been as big of a deal for the authors of those texts.
Mm-hmm. But even like the explanation of the Watchers and the Nephilim and the giants, and
Right.
That is stuff that would have been really nice in the biblical canon.
It would have been way more interesting, that's for sure.
Because as it is, if you're just reading the Bible, you just kind of have this vague idea of what these things might
and then just
the world coming after the world ending isn't particularly well described outside of this reading either. So Second Enoch is pretty good too in that regard.
and the well, yeah, but we get more to like the end time stuff once we get to Revelation. It'll be abundantly clear there.
I'm sure, but in Old Testament stuff, which this would have been included with, right? This would be included with Old Testament stuff.
That's it. Yeah.
We wouldn't have had an explanation at all. And since we've only been reading Old Testament, I'm going from the perspective of the Milwaukee atheists.
Yes,
sure.
and Genesis 6 does have a reference to the events.
It does, but it's definitely
just
not
expanded on.
Yeah.
Here.
It's definitely not as detailed as the Book of the Watchers.
Yeah.
It's like having a book versus having some flavor text on the bottom of a card.
Exactly. And you wouldn't really want a book at the bottom of a card.
No, you wouldn't. But you would like a better explanation sometimes.
Sometimes. Although my favorite flavor text, the stairs go down in both directions.
Okay. Well, with that being said, next week we will be finishing the longer version of Second Enoch.
Yes, Melchizedek stuff.
Now, on Sunday, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're finishing Hosea.
Are we could be finishing Hosea.
Might have another week.
I think we might be finishing Hosea. Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. So be sure to see us on Sunday when we finish Hosea.
Yeah, it'll be a great time. You're going to love it. Don't miss it.
Yeah. Now you can check us out on Patreon, where you can be on this show. You can enter into a t-shirt giveaway. You can be in our hangouts. If you don't want to enter into a t-shirt giveaway,
You can just buy a t-shirt.
In fact-
we have merchandise that Chris will pin here, and you can just get a t-shirt on Teespring.
yes, you can get our newest one. He is risen.
Knee slappers.
Yes. Hilarious shirt.
Only the best jokes here.
Yep. And, if you want to donate to us in another way, you can check out our Amazon wish list and buy us books that we can use for future videos.
Yeah. There are a ton of commentaries that would be very useful. So, if you do want to support the show that way, we do have the wish list. All links are in the description.
Yes. So I think you can also email us at milwaukeeatheist@gmail.com.
Facebook and Twitter. Free to follow us on those platforms.
Yep. And so with that being said, we
We will see you on Sunday to read Hosea on Sunday.